The purpose of Wealth Talk is to educate, inform, and hopefully entertain you on the subject of building your wealth. Wealth Builders recommends you should always take independent financial, tax, or legal advice before making any decisions around your finances.
Hello, welcome to episode 37 of Wealth Talk. My name's Christian Rodwell, the Membership Director for Wealth Builders. I'm joined by my side today, live in London, by Mr. Kevin Whelan, founder.
Hello, Chris. You can't get away from the fact that London is a very noisy place. So unusually, we're going to have some background noise. But as we're working together, we wanted to make sure that we gave great value because we're hot off having listened to those wonderful women describing their expertise in the wealth space as far as business is concerned. And I teased you a bit, didn't I, last time?
Mysterious John.
This mysterious John. Do you want to know who he is?
Yes.
Well, you did the interview.
It's Mr. John Warrillow.
Yeah, John Warrillow is just a business guru. He's the man who, if you want to understand how to create the maximum value from your business, he's the man who can help you with his own IP. Now, look, let's face it. When you think about the way assets are built, we've gone through all the various assets, Chris, haven't we? So if you want to look at your home, you can get an instant valuation. If you want to look at your pension, you might not be happy with the result, but you can get a valuation pretty quickly by looking online. If you want to look at the bank, you see what your cash is. The hardest asset to value is a business. And what John has created is a brilliant book called Built to Sell. And not that every business should be built to sell, and he acknowledges that in the book, but that all good businesses are capable of being sold.
And that's all about beginning with the end in mind.
Exactly right. And what he really articulates in the book is you've got options. So whether you sell it or not, you've got an option. And it's the same as being wealthy. You can power through your level of wealth into abundance, and it doesn't mean you stop at financial independence. You just keep powering on because things just happen. So you've got choice. And what he articulates in the book is there are 8 key drivers that help anybody to focus on those things. So I would encourage anybody to read it who's thinking that having a business is part of their wealth building plan. And let's face it, in the end, Chris, everybody parts company with their business.
Yeah.
Because they're going to die. So if you know you're going to part company with it, and they always talk about my business is my child, but yes, sometimes you've got to let your kids go. You bring them up, but you might want to part company and get a bit of cash for some of your business, or you might want to sell your business, or you might want to pass it on to your kids, or you might want to pass it on to others. But understanding that your business is maintaining great value is the important thing.
Yeah.
So I would encourage everybody to read the book because we only get 15 minutes or so of his wisdom, and not everything is going to come across in that short period of time.
Yeah, and we should mention as well the value builder system which John has created. So any business owners who want to maybe go and actually see, where are they in that cycle of, saleability, then
Exactly.
John has a good system. And I believe, it's the statistic that only 1% of businesses actually sell.
Well, yeah, because most businesses don't sell, Chris, because the buyers are not ready. They haven't thought about it. They get tired, they get distressed, they get worn out, and therefore the business is worthless in the end because they don't position it well. They don't create high levels of recurring income, and they don't create the business capability so we can work without them. And that's another reason. So looking at the drivers, and they're the 2 that I think are the most important out of the 8, creating high levels of recurring income and making sure the business can work entirely without you. Because if you can do that, then you're giving the acquirer predictability. And the reason why most businesses don't sell is the owner of the business values what they're doing when actually the acquirer doesn't value what they're doing. They're going to value what's going to be done when they're gone. And the 2 are different things.
Yeah, and we talked a lot last week with the female entrepreneurs about recurring income and how are they introducing that into their business. And that is the theme, obviously, of John's second book, The Automatic Customer, which is all about creating a subscription business in any industry.
Yes, and there are many ways to do that. And, of course, that's my speciality and strength. So we'll cover that, I think, in another podcast. But the book does go into, he talks about 9 different models. In fact, it's really, if you've got a service, how do you create more value from that? If you've got a product, how do you create repeat customers from that. If you're selling information, how do you do it on subscription? And if you've got a business that gives you a gateway to other opportunities, you can do that. So I think there's probably 4 real themes going on in there, but he gives 9 unique takes on how to do that. But building recurring income is got to be the most important thing to get right.
And we touch on that in the interview. So let's head over to the interview now with John Warrillow. Hey, so welcome to Wealth Talk, John.
Thanks for having me, Christian.
Great to have you on, John. And I know that you bumped into our founder, Kevin, a few weeks ago, or maybe a month or so, when you were last in London.
Yeah, actually, it was just outside Birmingham.
Okay.
We were up in the Midlands area. But yes, I saw Kevin. Yeah, it was fun.
Excellent. Now, John, what is it about business as an asset class that you like so much?
Well, I mean, if you set it up right, it doesn't necessarily have to take up all of your time. And I think also it provides the exponential growth that something like property or an income stream from a job just doesn't allow for. So, I mean, if you look at other asset classes over time, they kind of bump along at a reasonable clip. Real estate, depending on the time, 5, 7, 8% a year. Whereas businesses, if you get them right, they can double, triple, quadruple in value over the same period of time. They can also go to zero, right? So there's just a higher stakes environment. But that's one of the reasons I like it as an asset class.
Now, there's a difference between many businesses that are out there, and we know the statistics are that many businesses fail. And both of your books are very much centered around the recurring revenue model. Why is it so important to focus on recurring income in a business?
Well, first and foremost, it gives the business predictability, right? And so for a lot of business owners, we struggle with trying to predict the future of the business. Not only what customers are going to come in, but also what supply we need. In preparing for the book on the topic, The Automatic Customer, I did some research with a company called H. Bloom. H. Bloom is in the business of selling flowers. High street retailers throw out most of their flowers, but H. Bloom chose to sell flowers on subscription. So they went and did deals with hotels and restaurants to auto ship these flowers to these hotels and restaurants. What was really interesting was that their spoilage rate, the typical spoilage rate in a high street flower shop, is about 60%, meaning most flower stores throw out 60% of their inventory. At H. Bloom, they throw out less than 2%. Why? Well, because they know how many flowers to buy from the farmers because they know how many subscribers they have. Now, people listening to that might say, well, that's nice for flowers, but I don't have flowers. If you employ people, you have a form of perishable inventory, right? Because if they come in on a Monday, they want a paycheck on a Friday. If you can't deliver the work for them, then they're sitting on the bench, you're paying for them. If you have too much work, then they're overworked and miserable. And so every business owner, I believe, struggles with this kind of trying to predict demand. And that's why one of the benefits of having predictable revenue is it really helps you predict demand.
Yeah. And I guess another big advantage is obviously if you're building a business, you should always start with the end in mind. And many business owners struggle to sell the business. Why does recurring income help in this aspect?
Well, when an acquirer looks at your company, they're going to ask, okay, what does this business look like when you, the owner, leave, right? Because you're going to write that owner a big check. He's going to go to the golf course or the beach or whatever. And the question then becomes, how does this business perform when he or she leaves? And recurring revenue gives an acquirer tremendous confidence that the company will continue to thrive without the owner. If customers are making those small monthly payments, that gives acquirers a tremendous amount of confidence that there is a annuity stream beyond just the owner's kind of tenure and owner's effort as a rainmaker.
That makes sense. And tell us a little bit about the Value Builder system, John, as well.
Yeah, so we have a 12-part system or 12-module system that helps business owners improve the value of their company leading up to an exit. There are 12 unique modules. When people start with us, their average score is 59, and on average, they're getting offers of 3.5 times pre-tax profit. Those that go through the system improve their score up to 90 out of a possible 100 on the Value Builder questionnaire are getting on average offers of 7.1 times pre-tax pre-tax profit or more than double. The other thing Value Builder does is it almost triples the likelihood that you will get an offer for your business. And I don't know about you, but when I talk to business owners, very few of them actually want to sell, but virtually every one of them want to know they could sell. And there's nothing better than being in the catbird seat, having people come to you looking to acquire your business, because that way you're in the negotiation position of strength, as opposed to going to them, groveling for a sale. So going through Value Builder and achieving a score of 90 or greater triples the likelihood that you're going to receive a written offer for your business.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of our listeners now, John, will be currently employed and actually in the process of starting a new business. However, we do have some who may be in business for 20 years. For those that are in business and have already been entrenched in the way that they've been doing business for so long, may think now, oh, how do I suddenly change up the model? How do I kind of rewind and start introducing subscription models? So do you have any tips of, and case studies of different kind of business types and how they've switched from the old model to the new model?
Yeah, simply think about service contracts, right? So service contracts are one of the 9 subscription models that we talk about. And really, virtually all businesses can provide some level of service contract. So a service contract just basically says, these are the things that we're going to do for you. Typical customer does these on a regular cadence. Let's lock that into some sort of subscription offering. So heating and air conditioning companies, right? They need to come in and change out the furnace filters in the spring and in the fall. Swimming pool companies, they need to do the chlorine every month or so. All these companies can offer these service on an ad hoc basis, meaning when the customer calls, they go out and on a service run, or they could choose to offer them on subscription. And the subscription, again, makes the business more predictable. It also makes the business a lot more valuable to an acquirer. So in virtually every business, you can pick up a little bit of service contract revenue, and that's the place to start. And once you start to kind of get a sense of recurring revenue and its power, I think you'll be curious about the other 8 forms of recurring revenue as well.
So, would you say for those that are just getting started, John, if they're still not quite sure exactly what kind of business, would be to look at what skills they've got, what they could offer, almost in terms of a consultancy subscription model?
Yeah, you could do that, although it can get you very sucked into being the doer and the seller. So if you focus on your own skill set, what you have to offer, you will end up selling time for money and really trading one job for another. I would recommend instead focusing in on scratching your own itch, walking through life with a little pad of paper, an iPhone app, or notes app on your iPhone, and just trying to think about what would make this situation just a little bit better. Is there a product, a service that would make what I'm doing right now just a little bit better? And I think you'll find that by scratching your own itch, meaning finding a business that you would find valuable, you're going to have intimate knowledge of what customers want in that case, as well as some passion behind it because you've personally experienced that. In my case, I this goes back 15 years or so. I was really dumbfounded why some businesses were trading at much higher multiples than others. And sort of started this kind of lifelong journey to try to understand that. So it was really my own kind of personal curiosity about the topic that led us to Value Builder. And so I would just go through life with a little pad of paper saying, what could make this situation better? The guys at Peloton just went public. The Peloton guys said, working out in your basement, while works, it gets the job done. It's incredibly boring. Right? What would make it better would be a live streaming, tutorialist class run by some, effervescent, high energy person in New York, and they built it. And that was scratching their own itch.
Mm-hmm. Now, a question that some people might have, John, is how do you keep those customers subscribing month after month? And of course, if you continue to deliver value, then I'm sure the customers will decide to stay. But is it difficult sometimes with churn rate or unsubscribe rate? And do you have any tips for how you create a long-lasting relationship with a customer?
The biggest impact, the biggest predictor of churn is the customer's first 30 days as a subscriber. And so what we know from statistics is if they derive tremendous value from your subscription in the first 30 days, their likelihood to stay long-term is much higher, like by an order of magnitude higher than if they get limited value in the first 30 days, but tremendous value thereafter. It's that honeymoon period in the first 30 days where you really want to pack a tremendous value. So I'll give you an example. There's a company in the United States called Mr. Car Wash. They offer, you guessed it, car washes on subscription for $30 a month. Last time I checked, it was about $30 a month. You can go to a car wash an unlimited number of times. Now, traditional car wash operators, when they saw Mr. Car Wash do this, they thought, my God, they're completely insane. You're going to have Uber drivers and taxi cabs going through the car wash, every 5 minutes, and it's going to cost them a tremendous amount in hot water and soap and so forth. What they didn't realize was that that's exactly the behavior you want in your first month as a customer. You want those drivers to go through your car wash many, many times and have the kind of experience while thinking, wow, this is a tremendous experience. I'm getting so much value from this subscription. We all have better things to do than sit in a car wash, right? And so it over time settles out to a regular cadence of going to get your car washed. But you actually want to promote them over using the product or service in the first 30 days. When someone subscribes to a streaming service like Amazon Prime or Netflix, you want to serve them up an experience so valuable in that first 30 days that they bet in, as the industry says, which is when you get that kind of long-term loyalty.
Mm-hmm. Now, I would imagine with the rapid advancement of technology over the last 5 years or so, that starting a business that can have this automation and can easily have the technology to manage the customer flow has just become a lot easier. So the opportunities are greater. Is that a fair thing to say, John?
Absolutely. I mean, 15 years ago, recurring revenue platforms were really only available to massive wireless companies, right? And massive insurance providers. You needed, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars a year to create the billing platform that would allow you to kind of automatically bill customers on a regular cadence. Well, today they're a dime a dozen, right? Every software, every CRM software has an add-on. WordPress has an add-on. I mean, there's just tremendous numbers of add-ons that you can buy to bill your customers on a regular cadence. So yeah, it's a great time, I think. One of the things I would say though, Christian, is while it's a great time from a technology perspective, there's something called subscription fatigue, which is setting in. And I don't know if you've had this experience, but in the early days, in the old, when I first got a credit card, I'd open it up and there'd be like 1-page statement, right? Maybe 4 or 5 entries. Now, if I open up my credit card, it's like 7 pages long of all these like $3 and $7 and $9.95 of charges. That's because I buy so much on subscription, as many of us do. And our bar for opting into a subscription is rising as a result of that. And so what we really need to do is really fine tune the value proposition for a subscription so that the customer is getting just tremendous value that they really couldn't get from a transactional relationship. Think in terms of 10x versus 10%. No one's going to subscribe to your product for a 10% reduction in the overall cost. No one's going to subscribe to swimming pool and maintenance services if they could remain free and just buy them on a transaction basis. But if you can make a case that subscribing is like 5 or 10x more value than buying on a one-off basis, that's when you get tremendous traction. If you look at Netflix as an example, compared to a cable bill, I don't know what it's like in the UK, in the United States and Canada, your cable bill could be $100, $150 a month, compared with Netflix at whatever it is, $7, $8, $9 a month. It just represents such a tremendous value proposition that you kind of feel kind of stupid not opting in. So
yeah, and I was going to ask, John, is there such a thing as a subscription sweet spot? Because you've got Amazon Prime, you've got Netflix, which are kind of around about the $10 a month mark. Do you find there is any kind of price point that works really well with subscription models, or is it very different according to the business and industry?
Yeah, no, I don't think you could say that there's any, at least I haven't seen in my work, any sort of sweet spot. Things to keep in mind, of course, is that you've got business to consumer offerings, which traditionally have an opt-out option, meaning like a Netflix, you don't have a contract term in a business to consumer model. You can simply opt out when you wish. Whereas a business to business subscription usually has a contract. So for example, if you subscribe to something like in a business context, like an Infusionsoft CRM platform, you would agree to a term, and it's a two-sided sort of agreement, meaning they agree to provide you the software for that period of time, and you agree to pay for that period of time. So it's a different context. But in for a business, you could see examples where people are subscribing to access to an airplane, right, for tens of thousands of pounds a month. So it could be massive, amounts of money versus a very trivial thing like a toner cartridge replacement from HP for $5 or $10 a month. So I don't know that you could put a dollar value on the ideal sweet spot, but I would think about, is this an offering that's a business to consumer offering versus a business to business offering?
Mm-hmm. And John, I know you're returning to the UK in 2020. You'll be speaking at the Business Excellence Forum. And
alongside Kevin, I might add.
Yep, that's it. You'll be showing stage together. So what will you be bringing to the UK, John?
Yeah, I'll be talking about the drivers of company value. So we've identified in WealthBuilder there are these 8 unique drivers in company value. We'll be talking about those, and also be talking about the art of selling your business. So part of the process of monetizing your business is selling it, and I believe it's more art than science. Some people would make you believe that it's all science and hard numbers, but I think there's a flair and a narrative and an art form to selling a business. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit of that as well with you in the UK in a few months. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it too. So hopefully we'll get the chance to say hello face to face. And it's been great speaking with you today, John. I really appreciate you sharing everything with us today.
It was a pleasure. Thanks, Christian.
Wow, Kevin, you must be excited about sharing the stage with John next year.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to it. I did meet him not in London, but in Birmingham. Yes. But we had a good time, and I think it was his 20th wedding anniversary, and he was spending time in Scotland and then taking time out to come and do a presentation, which was great. But I would definitely encourage anybody to come and listen to John at the Business Excellence Forum. I'm there too. Which is next April at Celtic Manor, and I guess you could put a post-it note to that.
Absolutely, yeah, details of that.
And Bob Geldof will be speaking, and a number of other excellent speakers. So I think it's definitely worthwhile coming to see him.
So key points there overall to summarise recurring income model, and how really in any business, if you're have a contract in place for someone, how can you turn that from just a one-off sale to something that you serve that customer, provide even greater value on an ongoing basis?
Well, that's a good point. If you create recurring income, you have to demonstrate recurring value. So it keeps you on your toes. You have to provide a business that focuses continually on the value. And if you've got a flaky business that doesn't intend to do that, then you'll be found out. So it's really a brilliant business model because it really focuses on the end result, which is customer. So that's number one, and the predictability he stressed is number two, and that predictability is great for you as the business owner, but it's also predictable for an acquirer. So it's a double benefit there. I guess they're the key points that you made there.
And I mean, for any business owners listening, a real way to reignite old customers that perhaps you haven't been in touch with for a long time, and look at your model and go back to them and maybe now offer them something to re-engage them. Yeah.
Well, look, if you've got a service, could you provide a product? If you sell products, could you provide a service? What in the same way as we talk about leverage of time, and we ask people to do something every month, never let 30 days go by without building your wealth. What could you do 1% better at? If you've got 0 recurring income in your business, can you aim for 1%? And then just do one thing and try that. And then can you get to 2%? And then can you get to 3%? And as you do that and you continually find ways to create some form of contract some form of recurring billing, some kind of auto shipment, something that happens automatically that makes it easy for the customer to say yes. And in many cases, actually so painless that they just keep going and going and going with integrity, not hiding anything. Then I think any business can move from 0 to 5%, from 5 to 10. And if you can get your business to a significant volume of recurring income, then that business will be sold or potentially be sold for a multiple that can be 5, 6 or 7 times what a business that just focuses on profit will do, which is why it's really important to pay attention to what John's saying.
So we'd love to hear if you're already using a subscription model in your business, and one of the best places to share that is in the Wealth Builders Facebook group, so facebook.com/WealthBuilders, and we'll be carrying on the theme of business in next week's episode, won't we, Kevin?
Looking forward to that, Chris, and definitely looking forward to hearing what other people are doing that are either creating really successful recurring income or just starting to think about it and they want some guidance and advice. We're more than happy to do that, because that's the reason why I love business so much is because, if you listen to Charlotte last week, she talked about not impact, which is the name of her business, but impact. The fact that you can go from very small to very large very quickly and impact a lot of people. And a lot of that you can do that very quickly if you can build automation of revenue into your business model. So I hope everybody got value from today. Looking forward to continue to add more value. And until next time, Chris, see ya.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget that we are constantly updating our resources inside the Wealth Builders membership site to help you create, build and protect your wealth. Head over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership right now for free access. That's wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership.